Welcome back to the channel. The topic for discussion today is, as you can read from the title, it's about loneliness. And I thought I should tackle this subject because I am one of those people who didn't realize that I was lonely, and I didn't realize I had issues until very recently. And to give some context into this, I had a tough childhood and I felt alone and lonely. I didn't feel loved and I wasn't loved, which is all fine. We all go through life and we have different circumstances and things, and we all deal with it and grow up. But as I grew up, I became very independent, very strong, very confident, because these were all defense mechanisms that I had created for myself to deal with the lack of love and affection and emotions and the human connection that I was lacking. So I became really tough and brave and strong and successful as a result, because the world is a tough place and the stronger you are, the better you are at surviving. But I didn't realize that I could ever be lonely. And I was very lucky that I had long-term relationships over the years, and there was always someone very kind and loving in my life who gave me that support as an adult in my relationships. And there were very small gaps between the relationships, so I thought it was just sadness and breakups and then moving into something else. The last relationship lasted for 5 years. I was hoping and thought that it would be the last one and we'd live together forever, but things didn't work out. However, I went back into my normal mode of being tough and going out doing things, not realizing that suddenly that support that I had was gone. And I started going into depression and sadness, and I didn't really know what to do with it, and I wasn't even aware of the fact that I was sad. So I then got myself a therapist, because I thought, okay, there must be something wrong with me, because I'm the one who's the common denominator amongst all my relationships, and if they keep falling apart, then I'm the one who's broken, so I should go fix myself before I meet someone new. However, luckily, the shrink said, no, you're not broken, it is how it is, you were just incompatible, and after a while that came up, and obviously it's unfortunate that it didn't work out, but it's not your fault. And usually you hear this in the movies, and it's not your fault and blah blah blah, and I didn't really take it very seriously. But then as she dug more into my life and my past and my history, it came out and it became very evident that I had been lonely all my life, and I had accepted the fact that I was going to be lonely and I was going to be alone. And even though I had partners in my life, I thought they were just there as another being that I was in the company of, and I still felt lonely. But anyway, I'm not making this video to talk about my sad life. I'm making this video because I think it's an important subject, and so many people go through it, but they don't realize that this is a disease and it needs to be addressed. I also lost a very dear friend of mine a 1.5 years ago. That depressed me even more, because he was a very happy chappy, bubbly, lovely person, 29 years old, full of life, and you would never think, and then he took his own life, and I was very depressed about it, because I felt I could have done something and maybe I didn't see the signs and all that. Unfortunately, as I have been told over and over again, that there's nothing we can do sometimes because there aren't any signs, and acute depression is different to chronic depression. So, let me put this into context a little bit, historically and biologically. First of all, we are social animals and pack animals. Over centuries, we humans evolved and changed, and we have certain basic needs that we are biologically programmed for. For example, feeling hungry. When your body needs food, you feel hungry, and we're happy to tell everyone, our friends, our neighbors, everyone, oh, I'm hungry. A stranger in a shop, oh, I'm hungry, I want to eat. When we're sad, it's the same biological response. Our body is craving for human interaction. We feel lonely and sad, but we're ashamed of talking about it. How did it develop over centuries? When we were living in caves and we were living in clans and villages and little packs, we relied on each other for survival. So it wasn't just food. If you were left on your own, you would be eaten by a lion or some other animal, or you'd starve to death, or you'd be sick, or you'd bleed, or I don't know. There are so many things that could have happened. So we learned to rely on each other and live as a community together. And over thousands of years, human beings have been doing it until the last 150 years. So with the evolution of technology, electricity and telephones and all that, and now we have social media on top of it, which isn't helping. Anti-social media, I call it. So people have become more individualistic rather than how we lived in communities. We have gone from collectivism to individualism. And if you look at various countries around the world, third world countries where there's a lot of poverty and less technology, people still live in villages and communities, they interact with each other. They may have less, but they're happier and they don't feel so sad and lonely. Whereas in the first world countries, we're all sitting in our castles and mansions and houses and flats, and everyone feels lonely because all we see is pictures on Instagram and Facebook of people. Everyone else's life looks much better than ours, and we assume that they're having a great time and we're not. In reality, if you carefully consider a beautiful picture of a model that you see, this is their job. They are promoting themselves and promoting the products that they use. So when we look at the pictures, they get paid. It's their job. Some of them have to do this 9 to 5, or I don't know how many hours they would do it. And some of them do it in their spare time. Now think about this carefully. You and me as an ordinary person, we have a 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 job. After that we have to look after our family and kids and things. How much time do we have to spare to do this photography and go to the gym? So for those of these Instagrammers or Facebook people or social media people who portray this life that they're doing this amazing job and then they have these amazing bodies, you should question, where is their social interaction? When is it that they find time to spend time with their family or friends? They're working, then they're going to the gym. The day's over. On the other hand, a normal person like you and I goes to work, comes back, collects the kids from school or whatever, you feed the kids, sort out the house, and then you're so tired and you have to prepare for the next day. So you kind of wind down and we end up watching TV, having a glass of wine, sitting on a sofa with other significant others, or could be just on your own. You are losing that social interaction that you would have otherwise had if you lived in a cave or a village. I'm not saying that the life that we live is bad, it's just different and it's not how we are programmed. We take 1,000 years of biological conditioning and programming, and then suddenly over 150 years we expect the human race to change. Not going to happen. So people feel lonely and they don't talk about it because our society puts this pressure of you need to be brave, you need to just not care. And the trouble is, we all care deep down inside.